Hello, friends. It is May 22nd, and I want to welcome you to episode number 9 of Scnn, the Squared Circle News Network. As always, I am your host and the bringer of wrestling news, Darren Patrick. And as always, I want to thank you so much for joining me here, clicking on the link to watch this video, and being a part of this movement. Long as you're here, as always, I ask that you click the like button, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, to like the video, and don't forget the little bell to be alerted every time that I upload new content. Today is May 22nd, and today I have to start this news broadcast with the WWE Backlash pay-per-view and the zombie angle. This, my friends, was the epitome of ridiculousness from the WWE. And this just goes to show you that Vince McMahon will do anything for money, including making his own product look like ridiculous garbage. If there's anybody out there that enjoyed this angle, that enjoyed seeing this zombie lumberjack attack, bless you. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not going to criticize you. I'm not going to tell you you're crazy or stupid. I'm just saying that for the most part, worldwide, this was completely bashed by wrestling fans, reviewers, podcasters, you name it. Even mainstream media took shots at this, and this is just, it just goes to show you that you watch a WWE program and you're not going to see anything logical, anything that makes sense, anything that you can turn into a long-term storyline, because of course Miz and Morrison were eaten by zombies. So if you're going to follow a logical writing pattern, then Miz and Morrison are going to be zombies. But that's not going to happen. Miz is out with an injury, and Morrison is just Morrison. And there's going to be no zombie outbreak because, of course, zombies aren't real that we know of yet. But just insane. And, the Ringside News reported that Vince McMahon received 7 figures from Warner Brothers to tie in this event, to get the zombies there for the lumberjacks, and to put up pictures and banners of the Army of the Dead movie that Dave Bautista is starring in, that premiered yesterday actually on Netflix. And I watched some of it. I didn't see the whole thing yet, but I'm a big Dave Bautista fan. I think he was a phenomenal wrestler. Just, you don't get much of a better look and just power and strength and ability than Dave Bautista has. Huge fan of his, absolutely huge fan. I think he's great as an actor. I've seen movies that he's been in, and some of them, a couple of them were more kid-friendly movies, and they're not blockbusters, they're not Academy Award winners, but Batista does good work, and I'm a big fan of his as an actor. But 7 figures to promote this movie this way just goes to show you that Vince McMahon doesn't care what he makes his product look like, as long as he puts more money in his pocket, and that's exactly what he did. This is just, it's, if I'm an investor in WWE programming and I'm seeing this type of thing, I want nothing to do with it. It's just, what are you accomplishing? The fact you got paid, yeah, but here's more criticism, a lot more criticism. It's just, it doesn't make sense. There's no realism. And look, I've said it before, I'll say it a million times. I completely understand the suspension of reality argument when it comes to professional wrestling. You have to. If you're a fan of professional wrestling, there's a lot of things you'll accept, and you'll roll with it, and rightfully so, because it's a lot. Most of the time, it's done really well. But this was just zombies. Come on. This reminds me back in WCW days when they brought out RoboCop and they had Chucky on their big screen. It just, you're cheapening your product. You're cheapening it. You're not helping yourself in any way. And as long as somebody's can write a gigantic check, Vince McMahon will make his product look like absolute garbage without blinking an eye. And so be it. It's going to eventually come back in a very negative way. But at this point, a friend and I talked about this several times. And going back to when wrestling was more in, I don't want to say its heyday, because I would call the Attitude Era the big heyday for WWE, but the time when they were just growing and getting bigger and getting fans with their larger than life characters and things like that. Who remembers the Gobbledygooker? You know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a Survivor Series. They were promoting this. They had this giant egg in a nest, and everybody was speculating, well, who's inside the egg? And obviously I was a lot younger at the time, and that's all I could think of is there's going to be a major wrestler from another organization that's going to crack out of this egg, and it's going to be unbelievable, and everybody's going to be yelling and jumping up and down, and it's going to be insane. And a guy in a turkey suit came out. The crowd literally went silent in confusion, because what were they trying to accomplish here? And this was a time though when the WWF at the time recovered from things like this because they had a great product. The Gobbledygooker could have been horribly damaging to an already poor product, but they were okay to recover from this. And we talked, the friend of mine, we discussed what's the next Gobbledygooker and can they come back from it? And this is exactly what we're talking about, the zombie attack. Because this is the type of thing you're going to get. It's going to hurt them because they don't have the ratings that they used to have. They don't have the quality of product that they used to have. They're struggling. And this is only going to hurt them more. But as much as people blame Vince McMahon for the state of WWE programming right now, I can't help but believe that Vince McMahon has some kind of exit strategy in place. There's times when I see things like this and I think, man, this is the beginning of the end, and the downfall and the complete shutting of the doors is inevitable if they keep doing things like this. But I don't think Vince McMahon is that stupid. I legitimately think that Vince McMahon is okay with making his product look like garbage. He doesn't care if he loses ratings. He doesn't care if he loses fans, as long as he gets the paychecks and the paydays. And I think that he has an exit strategy in place where it may get to a point where nobody's going to want to come back because they've had enough, because the quality is so poor. But at this point, Vince McMahon is just going to unload the company. He's going to sell off all the stock. He's going to sell the WWE in total and just walk away with just more money than any one human being could ever spend in 1,000 lifetimes. And I just think that's the direction this whole company is going. Eventually, that's going to be the tipping point, and that's going to be the state of the company, is they are just going to bury it to a point where there's no recovery, where there's no saving it, and Vince McMahon will walk away, the Teflon guy that he is, he will walk away with more money than anybody could ever even imagine, and he'll be fine, and he'll care less about what happens in the WWE. Sell it to whoever, let them do what they want with it. He's got his payday. It's there, and it's just sad. Also in WWE news last week, Patrick Clark, also known as the Velveteen Dream, was finally released from the WWE. And this started, this news was originally broke by Sean Ross Sapp the day that he got released. And this, not just in my opinion, in my mind, in reality, this started back last year during the Speak Out movement, when everybody was exposing people within the wrestling industry for some serious indiscretions and some poor conduct. And Velveteen Dream was accused by more than one person of sending inappropriate pictures and texts to minors. And apparently the WWE did some sort of investigation, or headed some sort of investigation, or financed some sort of investigation. I'm not sure who did the actual looking, but it doesn't appear that they looked very hard, because after an extremely short period of time, they were completely okay with what they found, and they allowed Velveteen Dream to continue as part of the company. Now, in the subsequent time since all this happened, Velveteen Dream had suffered injuries. He had been off TV for extended periods of time. Well, whatever the real story was behind his absences, he just wasn't on WWE TV hardly at all since this whole incident happened. And finally, just recently, the release happened. And since the release, more things have come out as far as um, minors who are reporting and actually giving evidence as far as video clips, or I'm sorry, audio clips that they received from Velveteen Dream, asking them what school they go to, and just really, first of all, to say it's inappropriate to talk to a minor and ask them questions like this when you don't know who they are other than social media is appropriate. Yeah, those kind of questions are, but for an adult to be having any kind of conversations with a minor on social media is just weird, inappropriate, and it shouldn't be allowed. And this is one of the things that I hate about social media. There's so much bad behind social media. And right now, there's no way to really regulate it. I mean, you can report people for misconduct. You can do all sorts of things to bring attention to things that you see on social media, like Facebook and um, all the other Instagram and Twitter. You can report things easily, and people can be suspended. Sometimes accounts are canceled, but there's more of a serious issue here, because if you're a person like Velveteen Dream, an adult who's contacting, and look, I will use the words allegedly for just legal reasons, because who knows? I don't want anybody saying that I said Velveteen Dream did something that he didn't do. But what I am going to say, and I have no problem saying this, is I was told once, I heard this phrase, and it's very appropriate here. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And all these minors coming out with these pieces of alleged evidence, audio clips with a voice that sounds just like Velveteen Dream, pictures of Velveteen Dream's naked pictures from his personal cellular device. He claims he had no part in sending. I'm not sure who's getting their hands on Velveteen Dream's phone and unlocking it and taking naked pictures of him and sending them to minors, but apparently he's not doing it. So, and I'm just going to say that again. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And as far as I'm concerned, Velveteen Dream with these allegations should not be allowed to work in any organization involved in professional wrestling, and not only professional wrestling, but there needs to be a serious, realistic investigation into this. And if he is doing this with minors, sending this kind of material and engaging in conversations like he's been alleged to have been having, then the guy needs to be in prison. And he needs to be in prison for a long time. Not just you can't work in wrestling, you can't work here, you can't work there. You need to be taken out of society because you're a sick scumbag. And I'm going to leave that at that. But I would love to know that at some point a realistic investigation does take place. And you know what? If I'm wrong, or if these are all false allegations, then I think he should be completely exonerated publicly. He should be allowed to, he should getting a public apology from whoever accused him, whoever fired him, from Vince McMahon, whatever. Let the guy get back to his normal life and let him live it. But I seriously think that there's something here that needs to be uncovered truthfully, and the people who are at fault for getting this kind of material into the hands of minors need to pay a price. And I will leave that at that. I'm going to move on to AEW news right now. Of course, on last week's edition of Dynamite, Miro captured the TNT Championship from Darby Allin. It was a phenomenal match. Miro came out exactly the way he should have. And you know what? When Miro signed with AEW and he came out with this best man angle and he was working with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, it was criticized majorly, and I understand. I didn't like the angle either. I could have definitely done without it, but I think at the time, all parties who would have potentially been perfect for a storyline with Miro were in other storylines and other angles, and I think this was just a way to get Miro's face out there, to let the world know he was in AEW now. He as always, he gave that angle 100% of his of what he was. When he was in the WWE and they were having Lana, his wife, do this cuck angle with Miro being the cuck and her being with Bobby Lashley. I don't think I could ever, 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 with a clear conscience, allow that to happen. And when I say allow, I mean you can't control another person's life, and married or not, you can't order your spouse to do or not do something. But I couldn't be a part of that sort of angle and watch my wife do with another man what Lana did with Bobby Lashley. Fake, not, it doesn't matter. There's just a line of morality and taste and things like that, and they, as usual, WWE crossed it in all the wrong ways. But Miro, what I'm getting at is, even when he was involved in that, and the same as with this Kip Sabian angle, he gave it 100%. He's very professional. He's told what to do. He's given his storyline. He's given his angles. He's told how to act. He's told what to say, and he does it 100%. And you got to respect that. That's what I respected about Jon Moxley when he left the WWE. He got into angles with Nia Jax, and he was pinned in a match by EC3, who had been just absolutely buried for so long in WWE creative, that it was clearly just a way to make him suffer. And he did it, and he did it to the best of his ability 100% of the time, up until the day he walked out the door. And how can you not respect somebody like that? How can you question somebody's professionalism when they're that dedicated and they give that much to it, knowing that it's just ripping them apart inside? But Miro rightfully won the TNT, and I was fine with Darby Allin as champion. Darby Allin is definitely one of the future legends and Hall of Famers of AEW, and even if he would have beaten Miro, I think that would have really hurt Miro's character long term, maybe. Unless they found a very creative way for Darby to win that match. But I think that this was absolutely the right decision. Belt looks great on Miro, and he right now is playing that unstoppable, just devastating, monstrous force, and he needs to just snowplow through everybody that comes in his way and just really build up this character and make him a force to be reckoned with, not just now, but if he loses his title anytime in the near future. Beyond that, he needs to be brought up to the point where he's always going to be a threat no matter what, whether he has a title or not. He needs to be one of those guys that at any time could step in and take a belt off of somebody else. And I'm really happy for him. He suffered under just horrible creative and being stifled and held back in the WWE. And good for him. I'm looking forward to see where this goes, and I have confidence in Tony Khan and AEW that this is going to go in all the right direction. This upcoming week on AEW Dark Elevation on Monday night, we're going to see two personalities, two talents from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Rocky Romero is going to wrestle on Dark Elevation, and I talked about last episode about Rocky Romero being shown very briefly in the stands at the AEW broadcast, and I felt like there was something brewing there. Wasn't sure what, because they didn't really focus on it. They just kind of gave it a quick glance just to let you know he was there, but didn't really speak on it beyond that. So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing Rocky Romero and see how much farther this goes. Also, there's a wrestler named Ren Narita, who is a young lion in New Japan. The Young Lions is the New Japan Pro Wrestling training system, the equivalent of, say, the Nightmare Academy or the Performance Center in WWE. And, this is just another thing that I love that New Japan Pro Wrestling does, is when they bring in young up-and-coming talents, training talents, learning talents, they strip them of everything, all personality. You don't walk in there with a gimmick. You don't walk in there with a finishing move that you already have, or a catchphrase or anything. You are just an absolute basic beginner. You're given a pair of black tights, black boots, black knee pads, and that's it. You learn. You get in the ring and you work with the trainers and you learn. And you learn a basic move set. And then after you've become proficient at this basic move set, they'll put you in some of their shows, some of their broadcasts, and they'll have you against what I guess they would consider a mid card wrestler, and you'll do the most basic stuff. You'll do a couple clotheslines, a couple drop kicks, just all the things that you would learn in Pro Wrestling 101 training school. And they grow and they learn and they get better and they get better. And then finally they get a name, they get, an outfit, they get tights, they get personality. And it's the right way to do it. You build from the ground up. You learn from the absolute basics. You get to master it, and then you get put in the ring and you get your chance to get your character over with the fans. Just love the way they do this. And I personally haven't seen this Ren Narita. I don't know what he's capable of or how far along he is in the Young Lion program. But I'm definitely interested in checking out Elevation and seeing what he has to offer and how he looks. Cause it's just, I love watching these young guys grow in New Japan and become really something. You take some of their, I'm just going to use Tetsuya Naito as an example. He was literally nothing before joining New Japan. I believe he built houses in Japan, from what I understand. And he went through this program and he built himself up, and he is now one of the biggest names on the New Japan Pro Wrestling roster. He's the leader of the Los Ingobernables faction in New Japan, and he's great. He's just the textbook of what you would want to happen joining the New Japan product and going up through the ranks and becoming, a superstar. So looking forward to this, and this again is just furthering the Forbidden Door storyline, and we just have to keep getting these little bits and pieces until we see where this really explodes and where it goes. It was also reported last week that AEW will eventually be moving to TBS next year, and piggybacking that, on Friday, August 13th of this year, 2021, AEW's second show, Rampage, will be debuting, and that's going to air on Friday night at 10 p.m. So this is going to be immediately following SmackDown, which I think is a really good idea. I've traditionally have not really understood putting wrestling on a Friday night. It just seems like a night when, especially in the summertime, when, you don't have to work the next day. A lot of people have the Monday through Friday gig, and they don't have to worry about getting up early on a Saturday. So go out on Friday night, enjoy the nice weather, do whatever you want to do. But, in the past, SmackDown used to have great ratings on Friday nights, and of course, the whole WWE product as a whole suffers in ratings now, but this could be a good thing because you could get, fans watching SmackDown coming off that show and deciding to check this out. And I'm liking the whole move to TBS in general because, I love TNT. It to me, and it could be just the way I feel. I don't really know, but just TNT feels more like a major network to me than TBS does. But the flip side of that is more cable subscribers have TBS and have TNT, which I don't really understand because they are from the same family. They're all part of Warner Media. But it's just the fact that you can have TNT and not have TBS. So a lot more subscribers to TBS gives Dynamite the opportunity to have a lot more eyes on their product. So I'm really hoping this helps to pad their ratings and keep things moving in that positive direction for them. This only time will tell, but AEW has proven to be just a really solid product. Again, it's all subject to what you personally like, but I can look back. I've seen every AEW show that's been broadcast, be it on mainstream TV, on TBS, on pay-per-view, on YouTube, the dark elevation. Anything AEW that I find I watch. And I can honestly say that there's never been a broadcasted wrestling show, be it Dark, Elevation, Dynamite, pay-per-views. I can never say anyone was bad. I can certainly say that there has been a bunch that have been better than others, but I've never sat through any of their broadcasts and said, man, I just wasted a couple hours. This was horrible. Never. It's consistently just something that stays on the tracks, on the rails, and doesn't go off at all. I don't see them ever jumping the shark and really taking a nosedive. They're doing things right, and I think they can only get better. Moving on, also Moxley is going to be releasing his autobiography on November 2nd, entitled MOX. It's like all the other wrestlers' autobiography, just a complete journey through his life, how he got started, where he trained, what he accomplished, meeting his wife, Renee Paquette. I'm looking forward to this one because I believe that this is going to be fully written by Jon Moxley. There's not going to be a ghostwriter involved, so really, really want to get my hands on this when it comes out and give it a read. And I think it's just going to be just a phenomenal read, a phenomenal story. And you can actually pre-order this book now. Again, it's titled MOX. You can pre-order it on Amazon for $28. Moving on now to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I got to start with this. Just really, really sucks. Just really, really sad. Will Ospreay on May 4th during New Japan Pro Wrestling's Don Taku show suffered a neck injury in a match versus Shingo Takagi, and he was forced to vacate the New Japan, the IWGP heavyweight title. Ospreay is he's definitely one of the best in the business. I can confidently say that Will Ospreay is probably top 5 in the wrestling business. He's so good. He's really, really developed his character in major ways in the last couple of years. He's from when I first started watching him wrestle, he's bulked up a little bit in all the right ways. He's put muscle mass on in all the right parts of his body without sacrificing his wrestling style. He is one of the true high flyers and just really, really innovative wrestlers in the industry. But he's just improved himself in all the right ways, and very deservedly so, had the IWGP title. And unfortunately, with this injury, don't know yet exactly how long he's going to be sidelined. That we just have to wait for the reports to keep coming in and giving us more information. But just wishing him all the best and an absolute speed of recovery so he can get back into this. If I was to guess, I see New Japan hasn't announced how they're going to handle this yet as far as crowning a new IWGP champion, but if I was to guess, I would think they're going to find a way to get this title onto Jay White, who is absolutely the top heel in New Japan right now, or possibly back on Kota Ibushi if they decide to go face. But we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see how they handle it. They're going to make the announcements as they make their decisions. Right now, we really don't know anything, but other than the fact that the title was vacated and Ospreay has a neck injury. But beyond that, we're just going to have to wait for the reports to keep coming out, and we'll take it from there. Also recently, on a Talking with Briscoe and Bradshaw, David Finlay, who is currently the Impact Tag Team Champion with Juice Robinson and under contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. His father is Fit Finlay, who is formerly a wrestler with the WWE, WWF, and Fit Finlay is really considered one of the legends in WWE. And he was on this program, and he had stated that David Finlay, his son, is kind of in a possible transitioning pattern and may not be deciding to stay with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think a lot of it has to do, from what he said, with the pandemic, the state of the pandemic in Japan. And I really don't think that the pandemic is any worse in Japan than it is anywhere else. They've gone back to full crowds and things like that. And, there's been minor outbreaks, but this is just part of the reason that's being given right now from Fit Finlay. But David Finlay, from what Fit says, is when he gets a chance to sit down with him, he's going to help him figure this out. And, it could be either re-signing with New Japan, or his exact words were possibly looking at the WWE or something else. So, of course, Finlay being an alumni of WWE, but here's the thing: Fit Finlay was a part of the WWE when the WWE was king, when they were developing their talent the right way, when they were showcasing their talent the right way, when they were allowing their talent to be themselves and cut their own promos and really, really make their character their own. That's his generation of WWE. I don't think he really understands the current WWE product and how badly talent is held back right now and controlled and micromanaged and forced into just absolutely horrible creative. So, I'm sure beyond that, I'm sure David Finlay is fully aware. I don't believe there's an active wrestler alive right now that doesn't understand what's going on in the WWE, which is why WWE is not the destination company anymore. What it used to be, it was every wrestler's dream to be a part of the WWE, have that WrestleMania moment, etc., etc. It's not the case anymore. This is why, and frankly, this is why so many wrestlers sign with other companies. I mean, if the WWE was the destination anymore, they wouldn't be offering the ridiculous contracts that they're offering right now. They are offering so much money, it's just absolutely insane. And if you're the place that everybody wants to go to, there's no need for that. Because every time a wrestler will take a smaller paycheck to be in the perfect atmosphere, the perfect organization, the perfect culture to make their character what they want to make it. And everybody knows that's not the WWE anymore. If you're going to the WWE, it's purely because you want the big paycheck and you don't care about anything else. And okay, if you're fine with that, if that's your goal, then more power to you. Sign with the WWE and do their thing. And if you'd rather sit in catering or sit in the locker room watching Roman Reigns and Randy Orton and Edge and Brock Lesnar and the occasional legend that comes back when ratings are falling, if you're okay with them getting the entire spotlight and all the best spots, then by all means, if it's just about the money, more power to you, best of luck to you. I wish you no bad. But wrestlers that want to do this is a business that takes an unbelievable toll on your body, and there's not a really long shelf life for professional wrestlers anymore. So if you want to really contribute to this business and you really want the best opportunity to be everything that you can possibly be and make the most of who you are, the WWE is not the place to do it. And I'm not saying every place is ideal, because, if I was a professional wrestler and somebody told me I had to wrestle in Impact Wrestling for the duration of my career, I'd be hard pressed to take that deal. It's obviously you're going to have more freedom, but you're not going to really entertain the number of people that you will in just about every organization. And I've said that about Impact. To me, they're more of just the training ground for everybody else. They're a training ground for everybody else, and they're a place for wrestlers to go when they're at the very south end of their career, and they just got a few TV appearances left in them, and their body's just not cutting it anymore. Then you can sign with Impact. And the example I use in that case is Rhino. Look, I was a fan of Rhino's in his prime. He had great look. His moveset wasn't extraordinary. He had a great spear, and that was about it. But Rhino was a guy who was very mobile in the ring. And I watched Rhino at their the pay-per-view where Kenny Omega captured the Impact title, the Rebellion pay-per-view. And Rhino was struggling to move around the ring. This was not the Rhino of old. And that's what I mean by wrestlers who are at the very south end of their career. Rhino can get on the camera. He's still got his fan base. People want to see him. They understand he's at the point that he is at, and they're okay with it. Just the opportunity to see him get in the ring, and I'm fine with that. But, Impact is really not a destination organization. It's more of a transitional organization or an end of career organization. So that's all I've got for today. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I hope there was something here today that got you thinking, maybe something you want to talk about. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section. As always, the only thing I ask is that you please be respectful. I don't like anything to get ugly here. I just want this to be a positive atmosphere. So, again, leave comments. Please subscribe. Click that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't hurt you at all. It helps the channel. It helps us grow. And I'm just curious to see how far we can take this thing. So thank you again for joining me. Until next time, be good to yourselves and be good to each other. Thank you.